We have someone very, 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 very important. It's Alexander Shunnarah, 2,500 billboards. I think it's an $18 million a year advertising budget. He's someone I've looked up to and have tried to study from afar. And I am just so inspired by how human he is in running his law firm. So Seth and I are going to be kind of hybrid moderating here. So Seth, I don't know if you want to do any intro for Alex. It's hard. I don't know what.
You know, we're used to hanging out in places like Vegas and Miami. So to see you on a Zoom is very different. But can you give people an idea? I mean, like, you've created this incredible dominance in a state. You talk people about, like, take it back to the beginning. How did you go from just a regular, normal practice to the supersize that you have today?
Well, first of all, it's great to see everyone, and it is unusual. Harlan, hello, and Seth and everyone. But I think Mike Papantonio said it best the first time he ever introduced me. He said, inch by inch is a cinch and a yard is hard. And I honestly believe that we've just done it one step at a time. And I know that sounds simple, but if you look at all the law firms who've really built in this space, you know, the plaintiff space, I think everyone wants to get something overnight, but I don't think you can accomplish that in this particular space. And we've just done it one step at a time, one lawyer at a time, one employee at a time, increase our budget a little bit at a time, then taking calculated risks, pushing in at the appropriate time, having a little good fortune, no absentee ownership. I think it takes all the things to kind of build a law firm.
Look, what we've been talking about here on this show over the last 6-7 weeks with just a fantastic audience, taking from people like yourself, all of a sudden, you just got, we all did, but, you know, all of a sudden the world changed. Kind of felt like overnight. Scientists may have known for a while, but we didn't. How have you been adapting? You have a large infrastructure, large payroll. What have you done over these weeks to sort of stabilize the situation and look forward?
You know, we're very fortunate. So all my lawyers were working remotely anyway. We kind of saw it coming. I have to give a lot of credit to my managing attorney, which most of y'all know, Sarah Williams. I needed her. She kind of pushed me and she came to me and she said, Alex, I think this thing is about to get ugly. And so we went out and bought a couple of 100 extra licenses and 4 new servers. And it's amazing. Put our team in place, our internet team in place. And it wasn't, but like, I mean, the timing was perfect. It was about 2 days. By the time they got completed, 2 days later, we had to shut down in Alabama completely. I think it was around March 13th. And so we've just been working remotely the entire time. We really haven't missed a beat. I know that sounds crazy. What we're missing, you know, Harlan's a good friend of mine, and I speak to Glenn Lerner, who's a great guy. You know, we're missing future cases. And I just don't think there's anything you can do about that. I mean, when there's 70% of the cars that are not on the road, it's going to be interesting to see how many actual accidents happened in Alabama this April versus the past. Typically, you have about 10,000 accidents in Alabama. I'd be surprised if there's 3,500 accidents. So that's just something we'll just have to deal with in the future. But we're fortunate that we've been able to continue to run our law firm pretty efficiently, honestly, with this great technology.
That's awesome, Alex. I'm going to ask the next question. How are you balancing being a marlin fisherman with the volume side of the practice?
Well, in terms of marlin, in terms of the firm is kind of just a hybrid. I mean, we have here at headquarters, we have a litigation team of about 15 lawyers with me. And this is kind of, I guess, all my lawyers can file lawsuits, but this is kind of litigation headquarters. And so when we get cases that we consider, we call them minnows, mackerels, and marlins. So the minnows are your cases 50,000 and under. Your mackerels go from 50,000 to 999,000, and anything over $1 million, I call it a marlin. I just came up with that one day, and it just kind of stuck. You know, we file those lawsuits immediately. That's something I truly believe in. I know, you know, we're talking to a lot of people. I believe if you have a good case, you have to file that case immediately. I'm almost crazy about it. My lawyers get upset with me sometimes because I want to file it the same day. Obviously, when you have a wrongful death case, you'll have to open up an estate. But I don't have a lot of patience when it's a good case because I think you have to file that case immediately. The law firm is it just runs smooth. We've been blessed, and we have no problems between litigating the ones that need to be litigated and, you know, working on the other ones that just really don't have a need for litigation.
What have you done with the extra bandwidth? For instance, intake is not as busy. Some of the pre-lit, people who are onboarding new cases clearly can't be as busy. Have you found uses to try to catch up on things when you're always on the hamster wheel? What have you been able to do with a slightly slower hamster wheel?
Well, the only place that the hamster wheel is really slower has been in our intake department, in our call centers. We have a call center in El Salvador with about 40 people down there, and we have about 40 people here in Alabama. So we've just tried our very best. We haven't laid anyone off. We've just tried our best to, we have a big mass tort division also. And so we've gone out and we're looking for Social Security numbers. We're looking for HIPAAs that weren't signed. We've reached out to all our partners that we work with across the country who do mass torts. And we've just been basically assisting them in getting the information that they need, because sometimes your partners will drop those cases if they can't get a Social Security number or a medical record. And I've invested time and money in those cases, and those are my clients. So most of the time we'll go get that information for our people. That's what we've really done. But everyone else, it's your legal assistants, your paralegals, and your lawyers and your bookkeeping. It's just been status quo right now.
So I think, I want to make sure that, of the 460 people on this call right now, that we're not speaking over everyone's head. If you could put yourself back 10, 15 years, and you didn't have the resources you currently had, obviously you have resilience to get to where you've gotten. What advice would you give the people on this call if they don't have the resources?
I think the law has changed a little bit. I think the competition is much stiffer. I wouldn't discourage anyone from getting in any space or going into any direction that they want to. I think the best advice I would give them is to work very hard, figure out what they're very good at, figure out the space they want to be in, give it, not 100%, but 200% daily. And you're always moving, there's a whole thing, you're either moving forwards or backwards, really. You're never standing still. And so if you're not moving forward, you really are moving back. So, and I think you have to do a little self-analysis. I run across people. So here's an example. So I run across people, these young lawyers, and they'll say, they got a good case and they settled it. And let's say they settled it for $1 million, and they feel really good about it. And Harlan will know what I'm talking about here. And they're like, well, I made, $400,000 on this case. I had a great year. But my question to them is, how many cases did you get last year versus this year? And if they're still only getting 25 cases a month or 50 cases a month, and that hasn't moved, their business is not growing, because the next year they may not get that case, and the following year they may not get that case. That's just the benefit of having cases, but your business always has to be moving, and you have to pay attention to it, that it's moving in the right direction. Then you've got to take calculated risk. At some point, you've got to take some calculated risk. You want to make good decisions. Nobody wants to lose money, but I make a joke, for every dollar I've lost, I've made $2. So, it's a real simple business. I love this space. I think we are in the greatest space of all the spaces, Now, I think the hedge fund guys make a lot of money, but if you think about what I'm saying, so I looked up some hedge fund guys the other night because we're all bored, and I saw that the guy that made the most money made $2 billion. But then I looked and saw what he netted his clients, and he netted them 13%. Okay, well, that's good for him, but I'll tell you, the space we're in is way better than 13%. I don't think there's a better space than reinvesting your money, and that's why I have always reinvested my money. I like investments. I like all kinds of, spread your eggs, don't lose all your money, but I've never found a space better than the space we're in, and a return on your investment.
We've been to seminars over the years where they're like, hey, you got to get ready for less motor vehicle accidents because of self-driving cars. We've been through those sort of like thoughts, and a lot of us poo-pooed it, but all of a sudden we're sitting there with this dramatic drop. As you sit there, and I love the time we've spent together, sort of where you're taking a piece of paper and whiteboarding out where things are going next. What do you think that, taking people on the plaintiff's side, where should people with plaintiff's practices be thinking down the road? Not forgetting about motor vehicles, but are there other areas that you think have growth or that people should be investing in for the coming years?
I don't mind telling you. So we've just opened up a property division practice for the first time. I've always been looking for a second practice other than mass torts and BI space. So we finally pulled the trigger. And what I learned in just getting involved in property damage claims is they're very similar. I didn't want to go into bankruptcy or, divorce. And I know, Seth, you have a great criminal practice, and a lot of people that we know do. But Mark does, of course. But it was a natural fit for me because, if you look at the personal injury space, it's just your body, right? And your body gets hurt or messed up, and we're making a claim. But what I learned about the property damage side is it's the same insurance companies. I'm dealing with them. I'm sitting here in my headquarters. It's worth a few $1 million, whatever it's worth. If it burned down, it's amazing to me what I have learned just in the last year or so and I think there's a mindset. We just accept what they pay us, right? And we don't think much of it. They basically, they come in, they do an estimate, and they send you a check. And you're like, okay. But it comes down to things as like what type of flooring, what type of nails, what type of sheetrock. So it's very similar to me. It's been a natural fit. So that's one good area. I don't think that's ever going to go away. You've got natural disasters. Obviously, as we're sitting here talking to these 460 people, the business interruption claims are big. So we're advertising nationally right now for those. I mean, I don't mind telling you, we feel like that at some point the insurance companies will have to pay something. It'll probably be because the federal government will make them pay, and it'll be a deal with the federal government and the insurance companies together. But, of course, I personally apply for my business interruption, and of course, Liberty Mutual denied me on one side, Farmers denied me on the other side, and it's just going to be across the board. But I like property damage claims, I like business interruption claims. I love mass torts. I love the medical device side. I like the environmental side. But I love the Marlins. That's in my blood, and that's what if the society will open back up, we're going to make a very strong push to try to be the largest national law firm for getting these cases all across the country, because that's what I really enjoy the most.
I love that. And it's such an offensive mentality, which I want to transition to because that was in the title of today's webinar. And I know a lot of people are here feeling like they're playing defense. But if there's anyone who could speak on playing permanent offense, I know you probably spend maybe 5-10% of your time thinking about defense. How do you protect your time right now? How do you plan your days, months? How do you stay thinking of the future and stay on offense? What would be your tip to everyone?
I think it's about having just a clear mind, obviously. So if the one of those questions that you guys sent over to me about, what do all successful entrepreneurs do? And, it's about, taking care of your body and taking care of your mind and sleeping right and being healthy. I mean, we're all aging. I do my very, very best to exercise and stay healthy. But in regards to just staying ahead, I think constantly reading, constantly exposing yourself. I've learned a lot of things from Seth, from Harlan, from watching things like this. Whites and Luxembourg has taught me things, just everybody that you meet, Mike Papantonio, anybody that you meet, we're all full of knowledge. And if you can just take a shred, just a little bit from here, a little bit from there, a little bit from here, discard the bad stuff, keep the good stuff. But in the end, you've just got to make your own decisions. And you got to have the want to and kind of an insatiable desire to succeed, because it's just fun to me. I just enjoy doing this. Our clients need us. I make the joke all the time. If insurance companies did the right thing, none of us would have a job. But I don't think they're ever going to do the right thing. I've just really enjoyed Allstate the most, and how I've kind of dug into them and learned how, they're just in an incredible growth phase like Geico is right now. And all they want to do is just get revenue. They don't care if they lose clients. I mean, even their own insureds and their claims, they don't pay them either. And they know they're going to drop them, but they put that in the data. So the data doesn't mean anything to them. I mean, it means everything to them, but they'd rather lose a consumer because they can replace a consumer than pay the consumer what they think they owe them.
Harlan, what would be your top question to Alex? I can see your gears turning as you're listening.
Well, I love to listen to Alex, and he is a mentor to me, as perhaps I am to him, because we've all grown up in this business together. I know Alex well enough. He's driven by passion. And that's what he's really saying. He's a communicator. He has surrounded himself with really great people. You know, Alex, so what are you going to work on today? Today, when you get off of this, what's your next move for the day?
Well, I'm telling you, the next move that we're going to work on today is we're working on what we're going to do in the month of May. We kind of know what we're doing in May, but we're going to go ahead and just dot the I's and cross the T's. Our governor is speaking as I speak, so I'm not really sure what she says. I think she may, I don't know if she's going to open back up today or on the 1st, or she's going to tear us back in. But we're gearing that June 1 is really going to be when this thing opens back up and we're at full capacity. Our partners have been really good to us. And I hope that most people out there who are listening, we went to all our vendors, and I understand that I spend a lot of money with my vendors, and I've been with them a very long time, and they don't want to jeopardize our relationship, and they understand it. But all the vendors from the outdoor space, a shout out to Lamar, to the radio stations, to the TV stations. Digital is pretty easy because you can just press a button and turn it off. But they've all worked with us. And of course, if you've noticed the messages out there right now, you've got to be very careful with your messaging. All you got to do is Google, corporate America, COVID-19 messages. Everybody's got that soft message, that nice message. And of course, that's what we ran in Alabama. So the question now is, in May, we're going to come back a little bit more to the right, but, no sensationalism, no direct response, just trying to just keep the status quo, because eventually there's old saying, all thunderstorms eventually run out of rain. And this thing, I'm a biblical man, this too shall pass. And at some point, even though if you watch the media, they'll tell you it'll be here forever, I do believe we'll wake up in the near future, and this will be just like Ebola and SARS and MERS and everything else.
Well, I got a final marketing question for you, because you touched on this. Just like the stock market, there are buying opportunities right now with marketing. You king of billboards. What are you seeing right now that's a buy that might if you're value buyers, or any opportunities that you're seeing right now from a marketing point of view?
Yeah, well, I'll just use one. So I have a friend of mine, without mentioning names, he was in Pittsburgh, and he called me, and he wanted to, he talking about the outdoor space. So he came to me. And so I kind of just told him what he needed to do. Respectfully, I said, go and talk to him about kind of what I've done in Alabama. And they've been over backwards, and he actually got better pricing than I got. That's how they need revenue dollars right now. So I think if it's I can't speak about digital, because I'm the first one to say here on this thing, that is probably my weakest area that I'm getting better at on a daily basis. That's just the space I had to learn over the last 5 years. But in the traditional space, there is no doubt, from a national standpoint or from a local standpoint, there are going to be value buys everywhere. And, I don't know if Google's going to lower their pay-per-click ads, but in terms of the traditional space, there's going to be bargains out there. There's going to be a lot of opportunities, tremendous opportunities, I think. There's going to be a lot of law firms that are going to be, hurting. And so for, great lawyers, let's say like Mark, they'll be referring cases to him because they can't afford them, where beforehand, when they thought they could afford those cases. I think you're going to see a lot of good lawyers available too. I think that's a big thing, because there's going to be, Seth, for your law firm, I think you can pick up a couple of really good lawyers, because there's going to be some turnover at law firms where they can't afford to pay good lawyers. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities. And I think we all need to, I don't want to say take advantage, but, the market is what it is, and we have to move forward and seize the opportunity when we come out of this to strengthen our position moving forward.